New footage has surfaced showing David cleaning the shoes of the young victim later discovered in the trunk of his car.
That moment happened the day I made Romantic Homicide, I think.
The internet is straight up losing it right now. And trust me, the twist behind this new video isn't what you think. The real motive behind David's actions? Way darker. Let's break it down. This ain't some regular scroll past type clip. What's circulating is resurfaced footage of David crouched low, carefully cleaning the dead girl's shoes, almost like it was some kind of ritual. Social feeds exploded instantly. Some brushed it off as normal behavior, but others called it flat-out disturbing. The biggest mystery? Nobody knows why this video came back now, or who's pushing it into the spotlight. Every frame feels intentional, like a coded message hiding in plain sight. And here's where it gets real. The whole thing ties back to one of the most disturbing cases the streets have seen in a minute. When workers at a Hollywood impound lot popped open the trunk of a black 2023 Tesla on September 8, 2025, they uncovered the severely decomposed remains of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. The ride? Registered to rising musician David Anthony Burke, better known as David. The twisted part? Celeste's 15th birthday was literally the day before, September 7th. But with how decomposed her body was, it's clear she never even made it to that day. The stench was so strong, workers had already been complaining, and investigators believe she'd been gone since back in April 2024, around the time she was first reported missing. Now, this ain't just some missing person case. What's coming out paints a much darker picture. Allegations of grooming that started when Celeste was only 11 or 12, while David was around 16 to 18. That's serious. One of the strongest pieces of evidence? Both David and Celeste had matching tattoos on their right index fingers that read, "Sheesh." The LA County Medical Examiner even confirmed part of her identity based on that tattoo, linking her directly back to David. Celeste's own mother confirmed her daughter was seeing someone named David before she went missing. That's not hearsay. That's straight from family. Add to that photographic evidence placing David in Celeste's neighborhood, just blocks from her house, right before she disappeared. And keep in mind, this wasn't anywhere near his own home. Celeste lived in Lake Elsinore, over 70 miles east of Los Angeles. David being in that exact area wasn't random. It was deliberate.
Yes, and by the way, that parking lot, we looked at it on we geotagged the photo and looked at it. It was about a 6-minute walk from Celeste's home where her mom lives anyway.
One of the most chilling clues might actually be buried in his own music. In December 2023, just 4 months before Celeste vanished, a demo track leaked on SoundCloud. The title was hauntingly clear, Celeste.
It says, "Oh Celeste, the girl with my name tattooed on her chest."
The timing of this track is suspicious as hell. It wasn't written after she went missing. It was created while their alleged relationship was still going on, a full 4 months before she vanished for good. The obsessive, possessive tone in the lyrics, mixed with references to tattoos and physical intimacy, paints a disturbing picture of what might have been happening between them. On top of that, Discord chats from 2021 to 2023 allegedly show David communicating with Celeste while she was underage. The exact messages haven't been made public yet, but just their existence points to a digital trail investigators are definitely digging into. The tragedy deepens when you look at Celeste's history of running away. Reports show she was listed as missing in January 2024 and again in April, suggesting her final disappearance wasn't random at all. It was part of a pattern, most likely connected to David. And then came one of the most unsettling pieces of testimony from a middle school teacher who had known Celeste years earlier.
She met this dude on social media. He was a rapper in LA. He came and got her. She ran away from home. She was gone for like a month. The cops found her in Hollywood, brought her back to our school.
Investigators didn't stop at the main living spaces. Their search went deeper into every corner of the property.
Came back to our school, kind of told people this story. She disappeared again in May of that year. And then I found out yesterday that she's now dead in that rapper's car, cut into pieces.
The fact that Celeste had a history of running away only to be found in Hollywood and returned to school, shows this wasn't just some random runaway case. It points to an ongoing relationship, one where someone clearly had a powerful influence over her choices. The physical evidence discovered with her remains painted a heartbreaking picture. Celeste weighed just 71 pounds, with wavy black hair, wearing a tube top, black leggings, a yellow chain bracelet, and a single stud earring. These details, along with her distinctive tattoo, were what finally allowed forensic experts to confirm her identity after more than a year of being missing. As more layers of this case get pulled back, the ties between David and Celeste become impossible to dismiss as coincidence. The matching tattoos, the family confirmations, the geographic evidence, the song references, the repeated disappearances. All of it points toward a relationship that allegedly began when she was just a kid and he was already stepping into adulthood. But this was only the start of what investigators were uncovering. As the case intensified, law enforcement made bold moves that would change David's come-up story forever. Their findings didn't just expose how deep this alleged relationship went, they also forced the entire music industry to face uncomfortable truths about the red flags it had ignored. On September 18, 2025, the LAPD executed one of the most talked-about search warrants in recent memory. They raided a Hollywood Hills mansion where David had been staying, seizing electronics and hunting for blood evidence. The spot was no coincidence. It was just 2 blocks away from where his Tesla had been abandoned and towed. And this wasn't some routine sweep. Detectives were armed with luminol, scouring the property for traces of blood, even the kind scrubbed away long ago.
They were checking drains to see if there's any, blood evidence or, blood or tissue that was in the drains there. So they did a scouring of this house looking for any evidence.
Reports say investigators didn't just sweep the inside, they searched every inch of the property. That level of forensic digging shows law enforcement strongly suspects this house could have been the actual scene of foul play. The fact that Celeste's body was dismembered, with some remains never recovered, added a grim urgency to the hunt for blood, tissue, and evidence in drains and hidden spaces. But the house itself tells a story too. A story about David's lifestyle and his industry ties. Officially, the mansion was leased under his manager, Josh Marshall, who's connected to Intercope Records. But everything investigators found pointed to David being the true resident. And with rent sitting at $20,000 a month, the estate wasn't just luxury, it was a glaring symbol of the money and power surrounding him.
That's not the kind of thing even a famous 20-year-old could do on his own, typically.
The evidence tying David to the mansion is overwhelming. His own social media posts make it obvious. He was staying there, maybe not permanently, but often enough to leave no doubt. Some of those posts even show him entertaining high-profile guests like Benny Blanco and the group Cat's Eye. Right now, investigators are focused on one thing: finding concrete evidence that places Celeste inside that house. And the fact that nothing has surfaced yet? That silence could be just as telling as a discovery.
So the one thing we have not seen is a video of Celeste or photos of Celeste in that house.
That gap in evidence could mean one of two things. Either it never existed, or someone made sure it was erased. Still, investigators uncovered other forms of digital proof linking David and Celeste. Photos have surfaced showing what looks like a clear relationship between them, including a live stream where they appeared together, talking directly to his fans. According to reports, during that stream, David even told moderators to make sure it didn't stay online afterward. That alone suggests he knew how damaging their public interactions could look. There's also a photo of David and Celeste spotted at an event in Los Angeles in October 2023. The timing is especially disturbing. She had just turned 13, while he was already 17 or 18. As the investigation picked up speed, the music industry wasted no time in cutting him off. His Withered World tour across North America and Europe was scrapped, and Intercope Records froze his album release. Major brands pulled the plug too. Crocs and Hollister dropped him, KIS removed their collab track, and Fortnite even renamed his emote to avoid association. The Grammy Museum erased his scheduled appearance, and merch tied to his darker imagery, like bloody shirts from his videos, was pulled from shelves. But here's the twisted part. While companies ran for cover, the public reaction sent his music skyrocketing. Romantic Homicide jumped 102 spots on the global Spotify charts in the wake of the scandal. A track once seen as just a breakout hit now feels eerily different when heard through the lens of these allegations. Even David himself had described the way he created his music in terms that, looking back, feel disturbingly prophetic.
I would go on Discord and I would go on Fortnite and I would go on like squad fills and I just let people talk to me and just tell me about their lives. I was just being an open door and an open outlet for like my peers and my friends to kind of just like vent to me about different things in their like personal lives and stuff like that. And I would basically just take their lives and write songs about them and write songs for them. And they didn't even know it.
That statement, made long before any of these allegations surfaced, now raises disturbing questions about whose real-life experiences David was pulling from in his music, especially in tracks like Romantic Homicide. Even the song's origin carries a dark weight. David once admitted it was his mother's negative reaction to the track that pushed him to release it.
And I played it for my mom. And whenever my mom hates something, I know it's cool. She was like, David, this song is too violent. You're talking about killing people in your music? No, not my son. I was like, wait, I might be onto something.
The violent themes in the song never stopped him.
Most of my other songs like Take Me to the Sun and The Dirty Secrets before that and You and I, they're all like these indie up-tempo records that you could just like do whatever to. And I played it for my mom.
The music industry is now facing some uncomfortable questions. Were there warning signs in David's art that everyone chose to overlook? Looking back, the themes in his music, paired with what we now know about his alleged relationship with Celeste, paint the portrait of an artist whose songs may have been mirroring a very disturbing reality. Take Romantic Homicide, for example. Lyrics like, "In the back of my mind, I killed you and I didn't even regret it. I can't believe I said it, but it's true. I hate you," now raise chilling questions about the timeline of his relationship with Celeste and whether those words were rooted in more than just fiction. As investigators press forward and the industry grapples with its reckoning, one key piece remains missing from the public conversation: David's response. So far, he hasn't said a word, and in the streets, silence can be louder than any denial. The last confirmed sighting of David was in Seattle, when he performed just before the LAPD executed the search warrant on his Hollywood Hills mansion. Since then, he's disappeared from the public eye completely, leaving fans, critics, and investigators all waiting for what comes next.
He had a show that was scheduled last night, but that one was canceled.
But David's silence goes deeper than just avoiding the spotlight. Sources close to the investigation suggest something that could completely change how we view his cooperation with law enforcement.
So we were told early on he was cooperating with cops. Now it seems kind of unclear, but it is kind of interesting because
he's not talking to cops.
That's what we're hearing.
From a legal perspective, that shift from cooperation to silence makes perfect sense in the streets.
Now he knows they've searched his house. He knows what they were looking for in his house. Anything he says
is incriminating.
When investigators are tearing through your house with luminol, searching drains for traces of blood and tissue, the last thing you do is keep talking to police without a lawyer. Staying quiet isn't just smart, it's survival. Law enforcement, on the other hand, has been just as tight-lipped. The LAPD is guarding this case with an unusual level of secrecy, releasing almost nothing. The approach has drawn comparisons to other high-profile cases, like the Brian Kohberger investigation, where the public was desperate for details. But there's one crucial difference. Back then, nobody knew who the suspect was. Here, all eyes are already on David. The question hanging in the air is simple. What more do investigators need before officially naming him a suspect? Legally, the situation is complicated. A car in his name isn't enough. Prosecutors need evidence that puts David at the scene. when Celeste was killed, or at least when her body was placed in that Tesla. Still, the digital trail keeps stacking up. Reports suggest David wasn't only messaging Celeste, but also another underage girl. If true, that points to a disturbing pattern of predatory behavior that could lead to charges beyond Celeste's death. The timeline is equally damning. Their alleged contact began in 2021, when David was around 16 and Celeste was only 11 or 12. By 2023, when their relationship escalated, David was an adult, 18, while Celeste was still just 12 for several months. If proven, that alone would support statutory charges, regardless of what happens in the homicide investigation. Perhaps most revealing is the role of social media in this case. The same platforms that may have enabled their first interactions are now fueling the investigation against him. Reddit users, Twitter detectives, and TikTok sleuths have pieced together timelines faster than the authorities themselves. It's a double-edged sword, accelerating the search for truth, but also raising the risk of mob justice spilling into the streets. The public's reaction to this case has been just as revealing as the investigation itself. Many of David's fans feel betrayed, grappling with the possibility that the artist they admired may have been hiding something dark all along. His fan base is divided. Some call for boycotts of his music, while others refuse to believe the allegations. At the same time, critics are questioning whether the music industry ignored warning signs that, in hindsight, feel glaring. Those red flags weren't subtle. Beyond the disturbing lyrics of Romantic Homicide and the leaked demo track Celeste, his music videos allegedly featured characters resembling the missing girl, often paired with violent themes. His alter ego, It For My Eye, leaned into imagery directly tied to Celeste's interests, like Hello Kitty motifs, the same design on the sandals she was last seen wearing. The investigation has also shed light on the heartbreaking reality of Celeste's final months. She had been reported missing multiple times, first in January 2024, then again in April. Each disappearance suggests she was being drawn into David's orbit in Los Angeles. And each return home pulled her deeper into his world and further from the safety of her family. The pain her relatives have endured is unimaginable. They've had to publicly grieve while setting up a GoFundMe for funeral costs, and Celeste's mother's confirmation that her daughter was dating someone named David may have been one of the hardest truths she's ever spoken aloud. As the case moves forward, several key questions remain. Will forensic testing from David's Hollywood Hills home tie him directly to Celeste? Will investigators uncover more damning digital evidence from his seized devices? And perhaps most importantly, will David finally break his silence? Or will his legal team stick with the strategy of non-cooperation? But the implications of this case extend well beyond one artist and one victim. It forces a reckoning with how the music industry handles young stars, how social media can be exploited by predators, and how obvious warning signs can go unaddressed when fame and profit are on the line. Speculation has already swirled online about pregnancy, dismemberment, and other unconfirmed details. But what we do know is chilling enough. The release of Romantic Homicide on September 7th, Celeste's birthday, creates a haunting connection investigators are now scrutinizing. This isn't just a story about a single tragic death. It's about a system that allowed disturbing patterns to play out in full view, in lyrics, in music videos, in social media posts, while those who could have intervened chose to look the other way. The surge in streams of the very song tied to Celeste's story has created a troubling cycle, where tragedy itself turns into entertainment. What makes this case especially complicated is how it blurs the line between artistic expression and reality. At what point do violent or obsessive lyrics stop being just art and start sounding like a confession or threat? The leaked Celeste demo, with its explicit mentions of tattoos and obsession, paired with physical evidence of matching tattoos, suggests that here, Art may not just have been imitating life, but foreshadowing it in the most chilling way. Legal experts believe charges are likely, even if David is never directly linked to Celeste's death. The evidence pointing to an inappropriate relationship with a minor, combined with reports of him messaging other underage girls, opens the door to serious allegations of exploitation. For Celeste's family, the heartbreak has been immeasurable. They've not only lost their daughter, but have had to endure their grief in public, every moment of her final days dissected online by millions. Yet, through it all, their quiet strength and cooperation with investigators has been clear. This case is a sobering reminder. Behind every missing person headline is a real family, a real child, and a devastating loss. Celeste Rivas Hernandez wasn't just a viral story. She was a 15-year-old girl whose life ended far too soon, possibly at the hands of someone she trusted. Meanwhile, David's silence, and that of his legal team, might make sense in a courtroom, but in the face of growing evidence and public outrage, it's becoming harder to defend. Whether or not he's convicted, the damage is already done. Celeste's family will never see her again. David's career, by all accounts, is finished, and the music industry is being forced to confront some uncomfortable truths about the artists it elevates and the content it profits from. How do you think this case will end? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to dive deeper, click the next video on your screen.